He started out with analysis of chemtrails and how they affect cellular life on Earth. And subsequently, he researched Morgellons syndrome extensively, and also worked on ways to alleviate that condition. And he's discussed at the esoteric nature of crimes against the 20th century that can be traced back to John Dee. And he has discussed sentient oil, which he has a deep knowledge, as well as the Arks of the Covenant. And he acknowledges that the humanity's most powerful message or thing under siege right now is the imagination. So thank you, Harald, for coming on the Awakening podcast. And thank you, Jacqueline, for joining me. This is such a pleasure to have everybody here. I mean, this is amazing. I've been dreaming about this for years, just getting us all together and having a conversation. So welcome, Jacqueline. Welcome, Harald.
Thank you. On a global scale, to increase in our awareness of the matrix and what is going on globally to keep humans unconscious and controlled. So what I would like to do, Harald, obviously we're showcasing Harald's depth and extent of knowledge and wisdom of the origin of this agenda. And in order to kind of calibrate this conversation, I would like to read a little bit from Harald's essay called The Seven Keys, which talk about the 7 Trojan horses used by demonic influence to keep us unconscious, to the point, though, where as we begin to rise in consciousness and awaken, which is what is taking place on a global event right now, called the event, the shift, the crossing over, which ends in the friendly takeover of the planet by its inhabitants. So I'm going to read just a little bit, and then we're going to get into more of a conversation away from the duality mindset, which we keep talking about all of the lies, and then we find the truth, and that we're all waking up to this truth, but we're still having conversations in the realm of duality and what it looks like to leave duality, mindfulness, what it means to leave linear thinking, what it means to come into our multidimensionality and a realm of polarity, which is basically the matrix in a new world system, and the timeline, the separating out of these timelines that I've heard you talk about. So I'm gonna start reading a little bit, and then I am going to turn it over to Harald. So this is the introduction in his 7 Keys essay. The world we live in appears normal just because we've gotten used to it. However, if we will broaden our perspective and look at the origins, we might find out that hardly any of these things that we are experiencing, especially right now, if we will really use this event to wake up and realize that what we are experiencing is not vibrant, it is not loving, it is not healthy, intelligent, and constructive. It can rather be a case made for observing its opposite. It is highly subconscious, It is highly directed or manipulated and influenced. It is cruel. It is self-destructive, stupid, and detached. If we will look, we can see that we have created a hell on earth. And we are partly responsible for this condition in that we have gone to sleep, accepted it as a reality, and let go of our power, our personal power that we have over these very destructive conditions on the planet today. I think I read someplace in your essay that it says that we have 1,000 times more power than the demonic influences that have created this collective mass consciousness. And if we can learn to shift our focus into a different direction, and learn to allow the flow of love, which is innate to our nature, then we can rise up and out of this current global pandemic condition of fear and create something brand new. And we'll talk about that word apocalypse and what it means to creating something new, creating a conversation, creating a language that actually drills down into this new identity, this new world, and expand our consciousness in a way that we can rise up and out of this agenda. The plot runs deep into the past, back to the expulsion from paradise, and even further down in time. It is a well thought external influence that was penetrated upon our planetary sphere, our culture, in such a subtle way that everything always looks normal to us. And it is still happening today. The poison is spreading at exponential rates right now, following the concept of creating a problem and offering the solution for it, while the protagonists creating the problem stay in the shadow. Our solutions that are being created right now always contain a new poison. So darkness just gets, the agenda just gets deeper and deeper and more radical to control the minds of humans and keep them from ever making this crossover, which is where we are right now. So that this solution that is being created now is simply creating the next problem. And so where I want to open the conversation up with you is what you say. It is time to understand the plot behind the old world system that we're trying to leave and choose a different path. And so that is by exiting, unmasking the darkness camouflaged in the light. In other words, all of this agenda looks like, you know, we're being nurtured, taken care of, and everything is going to be fine because they have our best interest in their heart. And we know that this is not true. So unmasking this darkness, which is camouflaged in light, and exit it by letting it go. So I know that's a lot of information for us to absorb right now, but I think one of my intentions is that we get away from this constant, I mean, you go into depth about the 7 Trojan horses and all of the manipulations to the black goo that was laid as the energetic structure on the planetary energy grid that siphons off the energy and is stored in the crystalline grid, to the transhumanist agenda, all of these agendas that have kept us enslaved. How, Harold, do we unmask, not just, and in the unmasking, that we now don't just spend our energy in the unmasking, but that we actually stand up, accept our self-responsibility, to have the courage to detach and actually enter into the new world that is being presented with this new timeline that has been laid for us, and the assistance of our ascended masters and cosmic being, the angelic hosts that are here assisting us in the ability, the very real ability to cross over. So that's a lot, I know, Harald, but you can do it. If anybody can, you've got the mind, you've got the mental construct to bring about a language that will help us engage with our consciousness to actually choose a new way. So there you go, Harald.
Okay. The first thing that just came up to my mind in Hollywood, when you want to sell a film script, you pitch. And the art of pitching is putting a narration into one sentence. And if this one sentence strikes, you already made it halfway to get a contract. And if you try to pitch the agenda that we were subject to, if I try to put this into one sentence, just to be able first to define our current state of things. If I put this into one sentence, it's we have been detached from the collective consciousness of Gaia. This is what is known in mythology by expulsion from paradise. We have been detached from the Gaia collective consciousness, have been left in despair for a couple of millennia. And now they try to create an artificial AI-based collective consciousness and use that despair to tempt us into reconnecting into their artificial consciousness. This is the big bow. This is the overall concept. Unplug us, leave us in emptiness, low energies, despair, destruction, self-destruction, mutual destruction. And then when we're on the brink of saying we are not making it, offer that other thing that is a collective consciousness that serves the desire of humanity for collective consciousness. And then plug us in, and the outcome is turning everybody into biorobots. And the entire plot could not be understood till today because the concept of a biorobot was not tangible. Today, where we're approaching basically the last steps of the overall narration, we can see that they want to chip us, they want to inject gels and nanobots to connect us to a central computer. And they have this concept of sentient world simulation, where basically everybody is observed and the central computer is collecting data from every single human, and the computer is building up basically an AI world that is simulating everything that is happening on the planet. And if something goes into a direction that they don't like, they reverse the signal and overwrite your consciousness with what they want you to think. This is the biophysical reality of a biorobot culture. And this is exactly what is rolled out by DARPA today. DARPA was the core of developing the infrastructure, the technologies, the science behind that transhumanist concept. But if you want to look at it, you can see that this has been a very long story, and that all those thousands of years from the point where this planet for the first time was flooded with external trauma to disconnect us from the collective consciousness through traumatization and pain, that all the steps are highly intelligently leading us step by step into a state that is able to accept being connected to an AI. And the main thing, and this is what all this social engineering is about that I describe in the 7 keys, is that AI is binary. AI biophysically is equivalent to mental processing. And to be able to merge the human race with AI, it was necessary to basically push out all the other field aspects of consciousness, drive them into the subconsciousness, to keep it out of the day consciousness. And then you have basically a bunch of completely mental people. I love English just for that one word that is precisely on the point, to be mental. So that if you have the interference with an AI, you can't distinguish between what you are and what the AI is. This is the only necessary precondition to be able to accept the rule of AI over you, to completely live in a mental realm, because it's binary. And if the...
And so you talked about and I love this conversation, that we begin to understand the difference between binary and, multi-dimensionality, non-linear beingness. Am I speaking that correctly? Where you made the comment that being disconnected from the heart chakra,
Right, the trinary.
we're not the trinary. We're not able to access the life stream flow from higher octave reality, and that we're being driven deeper and deeper and deeper into accepting that what I think when I'm unconscious, in other words, I'm not aware, even I've become so reactive, so impulse oriented, I've become so connected that the reality taking place externally is the true reality, and that my sense of identity is totally based on what is happening in my external reality. Again, the Matrix, I mean, couldn't be, if you look at the Matrix, the movie, the Matrix, they were up into their sixth program of programming humans to accept the illusion. And the programming on the planet has become so like you call it, so connected now to our biology through the implanting of these nanochips that are speaking to us as it's being pulsed from off planet or wherever the simulation resides, and we're believing that as reality. We're accepting that as reality.
Right.
This is two different levels. The first level is our own biophysics. And the term nonlinear is correct, but it's highly scientific, so I won't try to enter it from there. What is easy to imagine for people without the scientific education for biophysics, everybody knows of those rainbow-colored chakra mandalas from the Vedic tradition. If you look at them, you find rotational symmetries in the mandalas. And this is for real. The biofields, the vortexes of biophotons exiting the chakras are actually really organized in the symmetries these mandalas represent. And if you look at those pictures and you tune into these symmetries, you will realize the 6th chakra has this binary structure. And this is how language works. Yes, no, up, down, left, right. It's all binary. Because you just think in polarities. And even if you make complex thought patterns, you can overlay two polarities and see how two cause and result structures interfere. But the basic thinking is always binary. If you look through to the lower chakras, everything that is in the emotional part, there you have the 60-degree angle. Dominant, you have lots of trinary field structures. This is why you can't think emotion. This is why we experience feelings in a completely different quality than we would experience thoughts, because it is a different field structure. And if you look at the mandala of the heart chakra, you will find the lotus flower, which is a 12 symmetry. You have 12 leaves of the lotus flower. And you will realize that the lotus flower has the potential to represent all binary structures, represent all trinary structures, because it all dissolves in the 12. And when you basically fully identify with that lotus flower type of consciousness, you can have a thought and a feeling about something that are not able to go into opposition against each others. Most of the people will have to admit that they are in a constant fight between thought and emotion, because these chakra centers have made their own little being inside of you, because they are not integrated in the heart chakra that was shut off for humanity. And once the two aspects of us, the emotional part and the mental part, are fully integrated in the heart consciousness, then we have this extremely complex, not thinking, consciousness that is able to process life in an appropriate way. And then you don't make mistakes. A mistake is always the rule of a limited perspective that either acts emotional or acts mental, and just didn't get what's really happening, because of the consciousness for what is really happening is simply not within the realm of our identifications. So this is how I define day consciousness: is the sum of all our identifications. Everything is present within us, but what is conscious? This is the big question. So we don't need to reinvent it. The heart is always there. We need to learn again to trust ourselves in a way that we re-identify with our heart.
So I would like to use that conversation to drill down to the topic of awakening and correlate connecting the consciousness, and help me with the language here, okay? Because I think this is really important as we help humans understand where the disconnect is and what maybe are the steps or the tools used to, as you say, come into a heart consciousness space versus the remaining completely in the thinking realm, so that as one drops into the heart space, that there is a synchronicity with the experience and the beingness that's taking place in the heart space. So now we're actually feeling our experiences and are able to adjust the experience based on what I'm feeling. So I now can look in my heart and say, whoa, this is not the feelings that I'm wanting to choose. Therefore, I can choose a different path. And in my choosing, I can actually change the reality that is taking place around me. So help me out a little bit there.
It's a bit difficult because we do have a lot of people who are part of the awakening, but it's happening to them. They would never have the idea to start working on their own healing and awakening because they're just completely absorbed by daily life, trying to survive, trying to feed their families. But still for them, what is valid and what works best is inspiration. Inspiration, if you meet somebody that has a certain evolved, developed, awakened consciousness structure within his day consciousness, and he just meets you. You don't even need to talk, you just need to be next to each other. Then it's like a structure jumping over from one to the next, like a disease. And suddenly something opens. You experience somebody being different, and you get the possibility to access it straight away. It just needs something like letting go of the limitation and being willing to merge into the new. And this is something everybody is doing on a daily basis. And this is the reason for the worldwide shutdown. They know that this is basically what is breaking their backbone. So they need to separate people to avoid inspiration. Yeah? This is how clever they are. This is one part. For those who have the luxury of being able to spend time to consciously go into self-healing, it's a completely different story. Then you can take your time and look for the traumas you carry. You can take your time, analyze your own behavior, and look for personalities. Yeah, if you look into the mainstream, you know, you find lots of lectures and whatever books on how to develop your personality. This is complete, from my perspective, complete bullshit. A personality is something that grows on the reptilian consciousness, is a straightforward action-reaction pattern that is producing nothing else than automatized reactions. And there's no living consciousness embedded within this. It's something completely external that does not belong to our eternal soul. It's something that grows within the incarnation. And so if you have the luxury to analyze your behavior, discover what types of personalities you developed at what state in your life, and this personality always develops when you get into deep shit, when you suffer from things you cannot handle, you find dirty solutions to survive. And this is like riding bicycle. It's the same part of the brain that is basically memorizing those solutions. For example, if your parents are beating you on a daily basis, they're blaming you for everything that happens around them, you start to lie to get out of this. And it's for the child, it's the only solution. If you do that for 7 years, you develop that liar personality that tries to avoid conflict by lying. And this then jumps automatically into the place whenever conflict is popping up on the horizon. Your brain, your reptilian brain, is automatically looking for the best lie not to be affected by the circumstances. And this is something that is not, your soul would never lie. Your soul would never avoid a conflict. Your soul would never mistreat somebody else. Your soul doesn't want to be a victim. Your soul doesn't want to give in a conflict situation, adopting the will of the perpetrator just to avoid being hurt. The soul would never do all these things. Humans are busy doing this day in, day out. This is the drama interaction, the drama triangle between victim, perpetrator, and savior. And this is all personality based. And for those who really want to make their homework to get out of this basically unproductive, stagnating, triangular structure, it's a completely different set of spiritual practice, self-healing protocols you can go through to understand how your day consciousness works, and to just fix bit by bit until everything that is within the bioenergetics of the human body is actually in your consciousness at the same time, and all the bits are in and well connected. It's kind of two different steps. You can have a complete split off of an aspect. If you were never allowed to be angry as a child, you start to not even feel your anger anymore. Then it's out of your system. You're completely calm and peaceful and you can't fight. And then you're victimized, of course, because everybody else who has this anger on board will smell that you are the perfect victim. This is basically the first structure when something is completely expelled from your consciousness. The second one is when it's in, but it's living its own life. Then it's just a matter of reconnecting the bioenergetics and pulling these strings of biophotons into your heart chakra to be ruled by your divine self. Because the divine self can only rule your incarnation through the heart chakra.
Say that again, because I'm trying to have a conversation for the individuals who we have taken quite a journey through the dark nights of our souls. We've become aware of our traumas. We've faced them. We are now, I'm just going to say it. I haven't, William knows I haven't publicly. I was sexually abused by a satanic cult at a daycare very early. I've been abducted by aliens, can tell you all about that, and have spent my whole life just, dealing multiple personalities split from the trauma. But I've healed, I've spent a tremendous amount of time doing that healing, faced the truth, which was, I was born and raised in a church that Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, Friday night, I've got to be nailed to the cross. And if I sin, that I'm going to, live in a hell with not one drop of water on my tongue for eternity, away from my parents and anyone who loves me. So I've really left the drama that I am that victim, and I don't have power. So I've done tremendous healing, very, very conscious of my divine nature. But what I'm finding currently, as I get these massive downloads, I have several guides that I really am informed by as we're walking through this landscape right now, this current landscape of the separating out of those that are going to wear masks and buy into the agenda versus those that are going to believe that, if I vibrate at very high vibrations in love, peace, and harmony, that the equation of peace vibration, love vibration, discord is dissolved in those higher frequencies. And so I will get in that timeline, in that space vector. I see the light. I connect with my higher beings and feel this sense of safety that we are going to make, or I am going to make this crossing, whatever that looks like. That I'm aware that we're in this event that's been prophesied for centuries. And yet, every single time I enter into that high frequency, the attack back on me is just, it's just exponential. Every movement into the light has this kickback from, you know, and I realize that maybe that's just simply areas that are still blind spots, that I'm still connected with that negative energy somewhere, and I've still got to do the cleansing. Right now, I'm really working on 0 point energy technique, where, you know, get out of the past, you know, stop projecting my past onto my future, and come into this place now where my divine nature exists here now, and that I am the power now. Can you touch that aspect as we're making this crossing, and the kickback to those of us that are doing the crossing over, to keep us attached and connected to a world that is just getting darker and darker and darker?
You were telling your personal story and asking for an answer within that context. Is it okay if I stay in that personal storyline?
Yeah, I've worked very hard to come out of the storyline, knowing that's the illusion. Okay, so, but I don't have any. I'm not attached or detached. So if that's a point of entrance to describing some answers, that's fine.
I don't care so much about the others at that point. I care about you. When you turn around, the picture in the background, it's on paper, correct? It's not digital.
Correct.
The lady, can you look at her?
Yes.
Right now, if you turn around, what do you see in her?
In her, personally, I personally see someone very at ease, being nurtured in the womb of creation, and kind of coming back to self, getting built up in self-awareness. And
look at her body language. Is she open?
No, she's not. She's pulling in. She's pulling into self as the means of support and safety. Maybe
safety comes closest.
Okay.
What I sense from your end, the way you talk, and especially with this background picture, it's perfect, is that due to your experience as a child, you created a split containing your vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And a healing step would be to pull that split back into your body and to reintegrate it. I don't know if we can do that online.
Well, this is interesting, because I certainly was not prepared to do a healing session, or even admit that I needed healing, because, you know, I've integrated actually 8 personalities, and am very conscious of my, however, I ask the question because there is I do struggle with remaining in the light. I still get.
I mean, this is what you told me. You said whenever
Yes.
you try to take a
Yes.
step, and whenever you expose yourself to new challenges, that the dark side is having a a heavy strike against you, and this is about vulnerability.
Yes.
And as long as your vulnerability is expelled, not expelled, is contained in that split to protect you from pain. Of course, you attract events that
say
bring
that
topic.
statement again. As long as
you have your vulnerability contained, insecurity in a split outside of yourself. Of course, as long as this is your state, you will attract perpetrators that will attack you in the way they do.
So this particular event, we'll pull it back to the event and not my particular, but on a global scale, is that not kind of what is taking place? That split that I have, maybe still.
Yeah, well,
at the beginning, and then everybody joins in kind of too late and misses the first part. And normally I have like quite long thought chains. So I'm not sad if it's not streamed.
Okay.
okay, well, do you want to like start? Just make a logical.
So William, what I wanted to do is, since you've got the bio, why don't you open it? You know,
in a way, it's not exactly the answer, but I think this is where it leads to. In a way, what is coming in future, this vibrant reality where we instantly create everything we want to see in our life. It's already happening in exactly the forms we just had as an example. If the vulnerability is not covered by day consciousness, we already fully create events and interaction that remind us of our vulnerability. And if one of those events comes in a quality that we can handle, not externally, internally, where we can basically be in the pain of being perpetrated, being attacked, and in that pain, because there's no barrier to overcome. When you're already in pain, you don't need to be afraid of pain because you can't avoid it in any case. And this is exactly the healing, the singular moment where healing is possible by the restaging of a traumatic event.
Mm.
This is how it works for everyday people. They just create it, and either they just strengthen the structure of having expelled it and refuse to go into feeling what's happening, feeling themselves in what's happening, or they take the opportunity and realize, wow, I can handle this time, and I am willing to feel. And this is the beauty in all these things. At the end of the day, it's all about willing to feel. And feeling is like an amplifier on your stereo at home. You can go from 0 to 10, and then that's it. And nobody ever was killed by a full-scale 10-point feeling. It's just intense. And at the point of deepest intensity, healing happens.
So this is really, really good too. This conversation about feeling is healing. And the talking about restaging the trauma event so that the trauma that's on the stage currently, like we're on the stage with trauma, and it's kind of hard to deny the trauma on the stage, okay? We have bats killing us, we have laboratory biological warfare demons on the stage of trauma. We still have current memories of 9/11 and stock market crash. We can't forget the Depression because it's everywhere in our history books. I mean, this trauma, whether it's my storyline of being, you know, sexually abused or whatever, every human being has that trauma that's being presented on the stage today. This is not something that happened yesterday. It's real hard for me to go back to, you know, my childhood and integrate, which I did, the actual trauma, because it was so severe that to enter that psychologically is very, very difficult to do. And on a human scale, every individual has that to whatever degree. Maybe you didn't have the same degree, but every human is being placed on this stage of trauma currently. Now, your comment was that as we're on this stage, the play is now. We're on Broadway. We got the ticket. We're sitting in the audience, and this stage, we're watching. Every human being on the planet has this Broadway play ticket, I
don't agree in 2 points.
Okay.
For the first, I would take 80% of what you direct to and say this is buying into fear-mongering. It's not trauma. 9/11, a couple of thousand people were killed, and those who were almost killed, okay, they might be traumatized, but the rest of the nation was not there.
Okay, so
and this is just buying into fear-mongering.
So you're saying
something else.
You're saying that the fear, can we not translate that fear into having it stage our feelings to come to the surface and facing our feelings? I mean, this psychological terrorism of fear, correct?
If you want to go to the source of it, if you want to dissolve it from where it comes from,
all right,
you can go into your childhood and see where your vulnerability to fear-mongering comes from. And then you face your real fears. This is where you can make a difference, because it's you and you can change yourself. You can't change the events at 9/11. You can't change the government that is using fear-mongering to get what they want. You can't change none of this, but you can change yourself. And there, it's not difficult. This is the second point where I completely disagree, because all you need to do is to find the will to feel again. And then, this is one step, and the second step is just to let go, because feeling is your innate nature, and it automatically comes when you stop blocking it. And the block is holding on to being injured, holding on to being traumatized, because the state of being traumatized appears to be more convenient than just crossing that one single painful moment of healing. Once you're through, it's all good, you know? Then you can leave the traumatic event in the past and just touch it when you want to touch it. And the thing is that the resistance to go through the healing process is one issue. The will to become a loving, feeling being again needs to be placed in the heart. As long as it's in the mind, it doesn't work, because you need to let go. And when you let go, your mind doesn't do anything anymore. And then in that moment, you don't have any source of inner discipline to go through the healing process. So the wish, the will, the strength, the drive, everything essential to go into a healing process needs to be heart-based. You can't take that from the mental plane. It doesn't work, because once you go into a healing process, the mental plane completely breaks away and doesn't do anything anymore. And then if the internal decision is, no, this is too much for me, I don't want that, then it blocks. So, but it's not really blocking, there's no will. And it's extremely important to be absolutely honest about what you really want and how you are designed consciousness-wise. If you have the feeling, okay, I am stuck in that mental realm and I can't go into a healing because it appears to be too difficult, and when I go there, I always pull back because there is something too intense, and then you realize, okay, I don't want to. Then it's good to first work on that thing of, do I want or don't I want? Just go into internal contemplation and ask yourself the question, when timelines split, in what realm do you want to continue living? Do you want to continue experiencing drama? Do you want to continue experiencing drama on the perpetrator side, on the service to others side, or on the service to self side? Or do you really want to go into consciousness, into unity consciousness? And unity consciousness is feeling everything that is within your bioenergetics. Just feeling it because it's just feeling. So what? It's like a rainbow. You can't expel one color from a rainbow. It's stupid. Just being willing to feel whatever is to feel, like the animals. It's a cruel story, but you know, in Japan, where the fishermen catch one dolphin, take a knife and injure it to a state where it's about to die, then put it into the harbor basin, let it scream for a couple of hours until all the dolphins come in to help. Dolphins are not stupid. Dolphins exactly know that the result of going to help this one dolphin, every year they have a good sense of memory, ability to memory, every year will lead to all of them being slaughtered in that basin. But they don't make, nature is divine, they don't make the mistake humanity did, which is the expulsion from paradise. It was not an expulsion. We voluntarily left because we did not want to feel that pain. And the dolphins are much more evolved, and they know when they basically inflict that cut onto themselves, not following a cry for help, even if they know that they are going to be slaughtered as a result of it. They rather go through the slaughtering and through the pain than betraying their own nature. And this is what we did, and this is why we are in the condition we are. And the only way to get out is to rethink that spot where we made this decision that feeling is too intense to go through it, and revise our decision and decide better. And this is the way out. So basically, when we want to go into unity consciousness, I'm not opting for anything. Every single being on this planet has a free choice how to continue. And if part of the creation wants to experience itself in duality, if they want to experience themselves in a world where you deny your darkness and better face it in the perpetrator that turns your life into hell, go for it. It's a way of experiencing or it is a way how Source is experiencing himself in testing all those options. If somebody wants to fulfill this dream, this desire to live that way, he can do it. If he doesn't want to, he needs in a way to comply to the rules of a world that carries unity consciousness, which means you need to be fully aware and fully integrate your darkness and not live it, but feel it. And you need to be willing to fully live in compassion, which means to voluntarily feel the pain of the others, especially if you cause it. Because sometimes just things run down a stupid line and you do something without being aware enough of your environment, and you hurt somebody, and if there's no compassion, this can turn into a disaster. This is what is happening here on a daily basis. We torture and slaughter billions of farm animals every year because we are free of compassion. And to turn back into our innate nature, to turn back into the love grid this planet is offering, means to voluntarily reintegrate the things, the emotions, the pain, the emotional result of our own deeds. And in that moment, when we just accept the feeling we create in others, automatically we will stop doing it, because somebody who lives in compassion can't live that way. It's impossible. When you realize, when you're in unity and you realize everything I do to others, I do to myself as well. This is what compassion is. It's just an expression of that basic principle that we are all one. Then you're not doing that crap. You just can't. You don't want and you can't. And
so as we choose, you know, and I realize it's an individual choice that each individual must choose. As individuals choose unity consciousness, as we start integrating and opening our heart chakra, and begin waking up. And I hate to say certain words because we've made them into such cliches, but I'm hoping that we can bring life back to the words that we use, that we can create a language that's a living language that represents the true essence of the words we're choosing. So I want to, you know, when we talk about unity consciousness or our divine nature or source, creator, the all, that we truly recognize that that's a place of reality, you know, that's a place of beingness. So I want to just briefly, and I know we're kind of, you know, getting down into some time here. We're at over an hour right now, but this timeline split, can you briefly talk about what that represents and how would you describe what ascension means? Do you believe that ascension is simply the rising in consciousness, which results in a human vibrating at higher and higher rates of frequency, which gives us access to a higher realm of reality? Do you believe that it will be an actual crossing over into this new timeline? And I say space vector because there's got to be a space framework to.
Yeah, that the question is like, is the energy is increasing, the resonance of the earth is increasing, or is the energy coming down? I think I asked this before, and I want to just get clarification on it. Are we going to? Is there like a switch in the reality that we're going to see, or is the energy just increasing on this plane?
Neither
or do
nor.
I have it completely confused? Neither nor. Okay.
Neither nor. It's there's no reality. It's like you're basically in the same trap as the church with the God. As long as everybody was believing in the external God, the church made sure that nobody connects to source. Because your perspective is to the outside. And the event and the rising of frequency and all this, it's the same trap. It's not happening outside because there is no outside. Reality is created by perception, basic rule of quantum physics. And the energy is rising if we rise our frequency. And then even the reality does not change. The total setup of reality, the 8D realm, 8-dimensional creation, will not change at all. Everything that can change is the slice of this 8D we experience ourselves in, can move to a different position. And the only one who can do this is the observer. It's us. Energy will not shift unless we shift energy. And it's not even shifting energy, it's just basically moving into different frequencies of observation. And this we can only do by being tuned into that frequency. If I look at a flower, for example, if I look at a flower, I can't just look at it, I also smell it. And when I see it and I smell it, I can see with the smell of the flower, these tiny energy hairs, like plasma filaments coming out, where the energy that basically the sexual part of the flower, the reproductive part of the flower is on a very high frequency compared to the rest. And this high frequency is basically going into free space, attracting the bees that follow not the smell, because smell doesn't have a direction. They follow the energetic trajectory emitted by the flower. This is what my consciousness sees when I look at a flower. And at the same time, my consciousness has access to the conceptual realm that is outside of 3D. And I can't see and think this without at the same moment realizing how fairies, the beings who live on different frequencies, feed on the smell of flowers, because they just absorb the energy donated by the blossom. And this is all, it's completely unrelevant, but it's just an example of how the complexity of consciousness turns the observed reality into something completely else. And also the basic frequency of the observing consciousness displays different layers of realities. These flowers are so highly energetic, vibrant, that if a human is on lower frequencies, he will not be able to see the energetic part of the flower. It's impossible because there's no resonance between the frequencies. So everything we can do is changing ourselves with the full knowledge that changing ourselves will also make the slice of the 8D reality we all live in move into higher spheres, enabling us to observe different things. And some of the people will do that, and other people won't do it. And at a certain point, the people who do it and the people who don't will stop resonating and will become invisible to each other. In a way, the bioenergetics of a blossom are not visible to a normal human on this plane. This is all that is happening. There's nothing external. There's no external event. It's just that certain people had enough of duality and made their decisions to self-heal and raise their frequency, and they will end up in a different reality than the people who don't. Than the people, the spirits who decide to experience more duality, because they still work on concepts of whatever whatever you learn in duality, I'm not there so much anymore.
Get money, more money, right?
For example.
Wow, that's
But still, as
Yeah.
because I know that I experience this, I mean, and it's about my personal, every individual's personal vibration and how I see or perceive reality. As we increase our vibration, there is I think when I say crossing over, and I think we're saying the same thing, it is simply an ability to see a different reality, and correct, and that higher reality has an energetic matrix that is the framework for holding together that particular reality, correct? So it is about leaving out of choice and raising vibration, which allows to perceive something different. In other words, like you said, the no longer, I just don't want to be part of or choose to remain in this world of duality, the perpetrator, the victim, the fear agenda, all of that. So in just simply detaching my attention and just being more mindful of the feelings of love and connecting with those feelings, there is a conversation or a that is about leaving this reality and moving into another reality, correct?
Yes and no. The reality is still not external.
Correct.
If you say creating a new reality or creating a reality or being in a continuous reality while creating different qualities, it's much more to the point because it leaves the responsibility to us. The way you put the words together, it felt like something external that we are facing. We won't face anything if we don't do it. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
this is one
seems,
thing. The other thing, when you talk about raising frequency, what you need to know is that during the thousands of years with closed heart chakras, we were forced to live as energetic vampires. All this social interaction was all about stealing energy from each other. And those who lost more energy than they gained, they got sick and died or whatever. So we've been draining each other to death to be able to survive. And this has nothing to do with guilt. It is exactly the game we have chosen to play when incarnating into a world that is in duality. So this is what was happening. If you want to raise your frequency, you need to open your heart chakra, because you can only gain energy from source with an open heart. Some experts somehow manage to use the crown chakra to recharge, but I'm not exactly sure where this energy comes from. For me, the natural way more feels like re-energizing through the channels, but pulled from the heart, pulling energy from Gaia into the heart, pulling energy from source into the heart. It goes through the crown chakra, it goes through the base chakra. But when I have those slots open, I can raise my frequency. Unless I start to waste the energy to all those people who still need to suck on me, then of course I'm losing it again, and I'm responsible for basically lagging behind my possibilities. If I give too much, then I'm in the savior role and still participate in drama interaction, which is all about stealing energy from each other. So this is basically how it works. And if you want to open your heart chakra to an extent where you can from there pull in energy, which is the omega and alpha of raising your frequency, then you need to remove everything from your life that you brought into your life, replacing the function of the heart chakra, which is personalities, which is stupid habits, which is trauma. You can't awaken your heart chakra if you're traumatized. It doesn't work. So there's an order to the healing process. First, traumatizations, then bringing in all the splits, then getting rid of adopted personalities, then getting rid from okay, then it can work, but normally with the people I have seen going through the process, they have this supernova explosion in the heart, and when they go back to daily life, it implodes again. And it's there, but right. It's in a quite passive state. It has the ability to reopen if it's needed, but it's not that supernova that glows all day, infecting everybody around you, which would be the state you need to be in when you want to go to unity consciousness. So and everybody is a shining star.
And that's really good because, William, that's what we keep talking about is having this supernova experience, but then going back into the world and having it shut down, and then you come back into the cave and it opens, and then you go back into the world and it closes. Yeah. So and maybe we have this conversation in the next if you're willing to do another interview, is the detachment, how one actually begins to create a space where that experience can begin to expand into the creation of a new reality, so that we're not continually just going back into the negative, destructive, world that keeps sucking us. It's like a black hole,
Well, yeah, like for example, just you're like a healing space. You've created the environment so that it works for you. Hopefully that's the case. But then when you go to the supermarket and all these people are wearing these masks, and like I wasn't wearing a mask, and then this guy like 40 feet away runs around the corner because he doesn't want to get near me, and then I go around to the next corner, and then he runs to the next one. And I can see the fear in the guy's eyes. They're just huge. And like, I'm not have a mask on. So I mean, but to me is I'm feeling almost like a perpetrator or something. I'm interacting with his world. I can't even communicate with him. He's always stepping back, and then just really interesting interactions you're having with people. I'm having with people. You've seen this. Actually, I was listening to Shai, the guy in Israel. He was talking about guys wearing the masks in the cars. They're driving around the cars. No one's in the car with them. And they're wearing the mask.
I found one really beautiful protocol that is simple enough to just spread it and hope that people will pick up on the basic principle. It comes from Adamu, channeled by Zing Ascension Papers. And what he is suggesting is whenever you experience drama in your life, and this is something that is easy to distinguish from normal situations. When you get basically driven by your own emotions in a situation, feel anger about something somebody else does, or feel pain or fear because of this and that, then you can call that a drama situation. And whenever you experience drama, immediately take over responsibility for that event. Just, he does it per affirmation, stating something like, I don't have it word by word by heart, but something like, I accept that this situation is coming into my life exactly because I, and then you need to name the solution to the question. If somebody is continuously perpetrated, then he is calling perpetrators into his life because he is in a continuous state of victimhood. Take responsibility for the event. And then I experienced it in my own practice. I've been living with this protocol for a while. And then life is starting to tease you in such funny ways. Exactly the topic you work on starts to show up in the most ridiculous forms to tease you to the point where you really understand the entire issue, to the deepest level. Life is that beautiful that it does. It's not nice to go through this because it's really teasing you into the deepest shit until you understand the last bit of your issue. And if you just manage to stay in that acceptance that it's all your responsibility, that you are the creator of that reality, then after a time, the issue starts to fade out of your life and you don't meet these situations anymore. And I've been doing this continuously with every single glimpse of drama I experience.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you've talked about the news reporter that called you and then she didn't call you back. You have some really awesome stories.
Yeah, I can just to share one story that to show that I'm also not perfect and not at the end of all developments. I had a drama 2 days ago. And it came from a completely unexpected corner. You know, I love to read Veterans Today because they've been the only truthful standing journalists left in the entire media space. And suddenly they bring out an article saying that chemtrails is a psyop lie story, that they don't exist. And they buy into 5G, it's harmless. And they completely push the corona agenda, fear-mongering. And I think, okay, the last standing journalists on this planet either just lost the sense of what's real and what's not real, or they are forced to bring out lies because they are threatened with something, got an offer they can't resist, or whatever these entities do with people that are standing normally. And I just posted something in the comments that was meant to falsify their claims. And then they posted a second article, and this was all quiet. I just reacted on something and I didn't feel any drama about it till there. And then they posted a second article with even heavier claims that all the comments they got shitloads of shitstorm and comments why they went mad, and not a single one of the people who sent emails and comments were operating on the basis of a scientific background. and every single one was a paid desinfo agent. And suddenly, bam, I had drama in my life. I couldn't sleep. I was angry. I felt forced. This is when your emotion do something that is not coming from the heart. My emotions forced me to give them a second reply. That second reply was so sharp that still, if I now open the Veterans Today web page, my comment is still with a mark waiting for approval by the administrator. So they didn't even put it online yet, as far as I know. Maybe they did today, I didn't check today. But, and you know, this is exactly a stupid, silly, simple example. I could now start to elaborate on how evil the cabal is forcing good journalists to spread lies, or I could elaborate on VT turning bad or turning stupid. I could look for the blame somewhere else. But no, the question that is interesting is, why did it trigger a drama interaction within me? And when I go into this, what hurt me most was the claim of not being scientific.
You know, it's real interesting because in the beginning of the interview, it's really the conversation that I want to really drill down on. And that is that getting caught in that drama loop, believing that because you know the truth and that they are operating on the lie, that your position being in the truth is somehow going to trump the lie, and that it just continues this drama loop. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm really working on personally is exactly what you're saying. And I think this is just such a really strong message, is that we can be talking truth all day long and even be scientific truth, you know, somehow that we're able to get underneath the veil and expose the lie and scientifically prove that there is a truth. And yet I'm finding that still I'm entering the duality. I'm staying in the duality reality. And so I would love to have another conversation about how to truly be mindful, getting back into our heart space of love, which is real. I mean,
right, but also the scientific method that, you know, like Harald's bringing to a lot of his conversations is a gateway for a lot of people to get into a different mode of thinking. So what he's done with all his research and lab research, you know, digging into black goo and chemtrails and all that kind of arcs, current events, all that stuff. What that does is that brings that seeker, that person that's a scientific, you know, someone that's willing to go to the next level with investigation, but it's bringing them into the next level. It's because that's where you have to go. You have to make that leap. But you got to have something that you have to climb something.
And I do agree with that. I will agree, you know, that if you don't know what the truth is, it's kind of hard to break out of the lie.
I mean,
if you don't know what the truth is,
all these kind of things. I mean, DARPA. I mean,
and I get that. You know, the HARP and CERN and right. And I get that. I get that there's a period of revealing, like a period of uncovering, a period of and I agree. I completely agree with that. But it's like the peace activists that, you know, they know right. The truth, that peace is the way, right? That the feeling of peace in your heart chakra and expressing that, you know, is really important. But then these peace activists get out there, you know, protesting war, and they end up getting caught in when they're battling the warmongers, the very peace that they were trying to express, it turns into hate and a battle. So what I'm not negating the revealing of the truth. The truth will set you free. I just find that on all, I get caught up in watching the truth YouTubes, and we just keep hashing through all of this information, but we're doing the battle of duality still. And I guess I'm just looking, I am a seeker for that, and I'm seeking that within my own self. Okay, so I'm not even wanting to go out there and say that you are doing that. What I'm saying internally with myself is, what does it look like for me to come out of, if I'm going to continue transmissions and I'm going to continue to speak to people through this media format, how do I personally come into alignment with my own unity so that I am the radiance that Harald talks about, where you come into the parameter of an individual that has broken free, and that energy is palpable, it is felt, and I'm seeking that identity within myself as, how do I become more and more perceptive of that real love vibration, the language that I use to actually express it. And that's all I'm saying. I certainly am not denying that we are here to postulate the truth. And Harald, I mean, after reading the 7 keys and the knowledge that you have uncovered is phenomenal. And I don't think few people could quite appreciate and comprehend. Like you said, it's difficult to face that truth. I mean, it's difficult to face the truth. And so, but I do think it has to be revealed. And Harald, you've been an instrument, a stand-up guy that has gone through your own evolutionary process of raising your consciousness to step into the courage to make these revelations. And so in no way am I saying that that's not correct. But William, what I am saying is that...
Yeah, well, I mean, he's shown his evolution over the last years with all the podcasts and things, all the trials you've gone through. You know, you put those up and you've expressed that through these other podcasts where if the people give you a chance to talk, right?
Is that including me?
There are 2 things that came to my mind. One is general. I've got one golden rule. As long as I am not in deep peace with issues I observed, I don't publish them.
Beautiful. When
I found my peace, when I know why it happened, what it was good for, what is the harvest humanity can get from this misery that I might describe as a misery as well. When I have the full picture where everything is embedded in the divine plan, and I can take the full story and with a complete peace and love in my heart say, this is what I observe, then I can go online with things. And then what I really transport is not the fear-mongering, not the misery, not the thing other people might be in conflict with. It is as an inspiration, the ability to find your peace with these issues. I couldn't talk about chemtrails if it wouldn't be easy to keep yourself healthy with a couple of simple protocols. I couldn't talk about Morgellons without being able to offer a cure for the condition. Once the cure is there, I can freely speak. And if somebody is basically suffering from Morgellons but not there to admit that this is what it is. If I deliver the cure with it, he can still freely choose whether he wants to drama of disease or whether he just wants to get out of the condition. And then it's easy to communicate. And the second thing is, because you ask, what can you do? And I know that some of the listeners dropped a story that we started at the very beginning. For you, what I feel is that reintegrating your vulnerability would do miracles. Many, many questions that you have on your mind right now would just disappear, because then things evolve from a different point of view, and problems that seem to be problematic will not be at all. You will have other issues to deal with because next steps always come. But this vulnerability is a core issue from what I see from you. And when I addressed it, for a moment, your eyes completely changed. Suddenly there was a flow of love coming out of the eyes, including pain, including fear, including the entire set of emotions, which means that there's no real block on that trauma. It's you keeping it down out of a free decision. So it should be easy to address if you want to address it.
Right.
And if you should, it's going to completely change your complete attitude. It will change the effect of your talks towards people, because they will be able to pick up the inspiration, what it means
Yes.
to face something that is
Yes.
brushing from underneath, and to just reintegrate it.
You know, you talk about, and we're getting a little personal, William, you talked about the need for revealing the truth. And I found myself getting protective of my own ability to integrate the depths of truth, the opposite of the depths of truth that I've experienced. So these truths that you speak of, Harald, they're very deep. Okay, we're talking about information that, you know, when Morpheus said, and I'll show you how deep the rabbit trail goes, your comment about this agenda going back even before, you know, Adam and Eve, that's a lot of truth to integrate and find peace with. And so the statement that you made, that you don't speak of the truth until you have the peace, that when you speak of it, you're expressing it from the place of peace. Mm-hmm. Instead of entering into the drama of the truth, mm-hmm. and expressing it from an agitated, being frightened of it. And I just am learning something here, is that a lot of the things that I've been through, the alien abductions and then being abducted by another whole, you know, the first ones were actually harmful. The second round, as I, you know, became aware of the reality of what was going on, and then was abducted by benevolent beings that helped in my psychological healing to accept the truth of the perpetration.
The mantis.
Yeah, I mean, and then my whole processing of that being a truth, like, are you serious right now? Being put into a mental institution as I tried to explain all of these things that had happened to me, and people were like, you're grandiose, you have grandiosity issues, and then the medications I was put on, and then the psychological, you know, warfare that, you know, there's something wrong with me, and that that I might have schizophrenia where I'm allowing other, I mean, it's just, so facing all of that truth, I think is, and finding the peace to accept these areas, which allow me to just deepen my place where my heart chakra can also take control at that level of depth of truth. I just am realizing that I haven't accessed that peace yet to the level of what I'm trying to cover in peace, and that it is going to be in facing. I'm going to cry right now. So, because it does go deep. I didn't even intend for this to go this way. We're doing a healing here, but okay.
This is inspiration. This is how beautiful it works.
I mean, William knows I've kept for so long.
Yeah.
Talking about my storyline. In fact, I keep saying, you know, we don't need to talk about the storyline. The storyline is healed. It's in the past. I'm in 0 point energy. I collapse my past and my future to be here now, and that I'm creating the new now and the new reality. And I keep trying to step up into this, you know, to cross over. And I keep getting these supernova experiences. And then, but there's still a healing that is needed. And here we are in the uncovering right now. So thank you, Harald. What can I say?
Exposing your vulnerability even in public. This is a huge step, you know.
I want to get off right now.
And just a last word for all the other ones listening in this essay, The 7 Keys. It's open source, public domain. It's on my website, Aquarius Technologies, in the Veröffentlichungen publication area. And what I did as a basic principle, we spotted one of these Trojan horses as a problem within ourselves. The morphed setup of bioenergetics in our body, distorting our being. Recognizing this distortion was automatically leading to being able to collect the historic evidence of how it happened. And this was miraculous. The way these information came to me was just a response on me being willing to look at the distortion within myself. Then finding a healing path for myself. And by going through the healing, the entire concept of the distortion becomes visible. And this is the point where also the spiritual growth that stands at the end of the circle, the cycle, becomes visible. This is what gives you the inner peace, being able to talk about it, offering a solution. And every chapter with every Trojan horse has a protocol of how to get out of it. And all I can promise is this is the protocol that worked for me. Other people might have a slightly different personal background. Maybe they need a different protocol, a different cure, or a different access. But this is at least something I can state. This worked for me to the point of complete solution of the problem. And this is why I can communicate everything in a pack. So maybe you can put the link online at the end of the...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
the 7 keys is, it's, you know, be prepared to go deep. However, I think healing is taking place, Harald, not just on a individual level, although it does happen on the individual level. But I think our planet, I think that's what is happening, is that we're being called to come inside and look inside and begin to self-regulate, be mindful of the heart and the feeling, and it's beautiful. So I invite everyone inside. Would you like to wrap it up, William?
Yeah,
and
sure.
Harold, would you give us an
on the
outro
seven keys? Yeah, on the 7 keys, because we talked about the beginning of it, and then it ends with a like an space around you, because we're just getting bombarded. If you're in a, I mean, I have one of these RF detectors, and I just know, like, I go outside and it's going to 16 or 20. I mean, you need to create these spaces around us.
The protective field.
Can you talk about that just really briefly? Just to, I know you have a whole chapter on it.
On that, it's not from me. It's from my girlfriend.
Okay.
My woman. She was working on that field. It's her creation. But actually, what happened? She had a simple template of that force field from her shamanic education, from her ancestors. And when we gathered forces and started to work together, we were running through all levels of the dark realm, like one level being sent out to attack us with whatever measure. Completely weird stories, you can't even share them. It's ridiculous. And we needed to find countermeasures on the spiritual plane to fend off these spiritual attacks coming from the dark realm. So we were continuously working on the force field to protect us from the quality of attacks coming through. And every single attack taught more about the structure of the dark realm. So we were facing the beings doing things, so we could learn about their realm and their hierarchies and their abilities and everything. And the force field was adopted to necessities by surviving each level attack to the highest levels. So it is not completely shielding from radio frequency, but it is interacting with a human body in a way to minimize the damage done. And some of the radiation is harmonized in a way. For example, if you have just one example, they work with infrared lasers. This was a new game from satellite, beaming a 1 meter and 10 centimeter diameter beam of pulsed infrared laser, 2.3 micrometers frequency. Military technology. We tested this, what it is. We felt the attack, we tested what it is. And it was like a Morse alphabet, like and then we programmed the force field in a way that it filled in the gaps between the Morse with the same frequency and same intensity. So all we get is a beam of red light, but no disturbing information pattern on it. This is the quality the force field interacts with incoming signals. I had attacks by black magicians while standing on the stage. This kind of the most intense moments when it had to deflect spells shot at me. And all these levels are covered up to the highest, so it's a quite useful tool if you decide to stand to your own spirit and risk being confronted with the dark entities because you're still vulnerable to playing duality games. This can make you survive and enjoy a slightly better living quality while you're doing this. It's not that I want to basically put the responsibility for the attacks on the dark ones. The dark ones are there because of the unconscious within us. So the responsibility is still within us, but still it helps to travel the path of clearing yourself, because when you clear yourself, they challenge you. Of course they do. And surviving these challenges, for this, it's a little helper. It takes like twice a day, 3 minutes of practice. Needs to be renewed every 12 hours. So it's not really consuming time, and it's a combination of visualization and affirmation to create a golden bubble around you or around your flat or your house that keeps everything inside in a good shape. And also when it's programmed, it's programmed in a way that everything with evil intention coming in is deflected, and it turns the source of the evil intention into love, healing, and compassion. So it's basically destroying the assets the dark realm is relying on by healing them. And it's programmed in a way that it goes both ways. If I have an evil intention that pops up, it's deflected by the same force field and reflected back onto me, because I desire that everything in me that is a source for evil intention should be immediately transformed into healing. So it goes both ways. Many people who started to practice it, they didn't like that second part about being affected by it as well, because they wanted to play their stupid energy games. And once we have it, they don't work anymore because it's parasitic. And parasitic things are explicitly included and excluded to happen. So it's a double-sided sword that also leads to your own healing in a way.
Okay, so boy, I hate for this to end, but so William, do you have some last words? Again, please, everyone, we'll put the link to the 7 keys, which is just amazing. I mean, trust me, amazing information. William and Harald, I hope we can do this again. There's so many things, so many different, we didn't even get into the word apocalypse, which I really love digging into that, the meaning, and just, oh my gosh, there's just so many topics that we could talk about, and I hope we can continue. William, do you have anything to say on the way out?
And then there's also a link to some health protocols that you also, they're included in the 7 keys, but they're also another document, I think, that's a little more explicit about some of the health protocols that you developed. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And I'll post that as well. Yeah, I think this was amazing. I didn't know where this was going to go. I love the conversational nature of it, and Harald, yeah, so amazing to actually speak with you, and you, Jacqueline, being here too. And I really, love to do this again at some point. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just send me an invitation link. I'm available.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you for the healing
really
session too.
Means tremendous.
That was really nice.
That
was an added benefit to this.
Yeah. And I would just add that Harald has a very soothing presence with his voice.
Yes,
you know, whatever you're saying, you just have a very. I mean, I've just put your podcasts on over the years and just gone out into nature and taken long walks and just listen to you talk and explain, and it has just a very nice resonance to it. Just the way that you're, very peaceful.
And you can feel that there's no drama loop in the conversation. And
I mean, speaking of the drama loop, so this compartmentalization of your mind and your heart and your mind and all these different blockages, you help really. I know that I'm sure you've gotten a lot of feedback. People integrate people. Your voice and your patterning just helps integrate a lot of things for a lot of people.
Yeah, the voice is 100% expressing and transporting the internal state. So just listening to a voice is the source of inspiration. Because the sound goes through your body, and it sets all the neural networks into exactly the condition the one who is talking is in, by having this resonant body absorbing the sound. So this is how it works. So biology is so beautiful.
Okay, so maybe that'll be one of our topics.
Thank you.
But
Sounds
anyway,
great.
thanks everybody, and we
Thanks,
will
Harold.
definitely see you
Yeah.
again.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Good night.
Bye.